wa ta'ala is the Almighty in all the aspects. In any way we think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the highest, He is the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we mentioned that part of saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-a'la. This means that He is the highest without talking about specific place. It is just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is al-a'la, the highest. Then we spoke about الَّذِي خَلَقَ فَسَوَّى. He created and He gives everything that He created subhanahu wa ta'ala its proportion. And وَالَّذِي قَدَّرَ فَهَدَى التَّقْدِيرِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything and they gave them the hidayah. So either the hidayah in the guidance, in the way that He created them, or if we are talking about the hidayah which related to the deen. And there is general hidayah, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He said, وَأَمَّا ثَمُودُ فَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ فَاسْتَحَبُّوا الْعَمَى عَلَى الْهُدَى, that Thamud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them. So this is the general one, but they chose not to follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالَّذِي أَخْرَجَ الْمَرْعَى فَجَعَلَهُ غُثَاءً أَحْوَىٰ. We spoke about that the pasture that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, all these things for the animals, that they can go out and eat, and this is a bliss from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now if you remember, also I mentioned at the beginning of the speech last week that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to love this surah. And when we think about this particular issue, we remember that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to read this surah or on a Friday. When he prays Jumu'ah, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to recite the first rak'ah, سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى, Surah Al-A'la, and in the second rak'ah, he used to read Surah Al-Ghashiyah. This means that, if you remember that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he lived in Al-Medina about 10 years, so we are talking about 500 times that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam read this surah, and all the time, every week. And this shows that how the Prophet ﷺ loves this surah. And the same he used to do in Eid. Not only this, he encouraged us to read it in the witr. So the sunnah in the witr, in the last three, to read in the first one, Surah Al-A'la, the second one, or the second rak'ah, I mean, Surah Al-Kafirun, and the third rak'ah, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Which means that as a believer, you are in touch with this surah every day. And again, brothers and sisters, this shows us how the Prophet ﷺ used to love this surah. Because it started with Tasbih Allah Azza wa Jal. So again, as a Muslim, Tasbih Allah Azza wa Jal must be something that you love so much. And you'd like to do this all the time. That all the time, try your best to say Subhanallah, Subhanallah wa bihamdih, Subhanallah al-Azim, Subhanallah al-Azim wa bihamdih. This is what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to do all the time. And the surah started with the tasbih in ayah 1, and in ayah 6 gave the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the good news. What's the good news? سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى. When Jibreel alayhi salam started to come to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and reveal the Quran from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet alayhi salatu wa salam, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is keen to memorize every single word that Jibreel is saying. Because he knows, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that Jibreel revealing this to him from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a purpose. And this purpose for the tabligh. Tabligh, yani deliver the message. Now because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is al-muballigh, the one who will deliver this, he has to be full trustworthy, and he has the burden of this big responsibility. So this responsibility on the shoulders of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, requires from Muhammad ﷺ to be very, very interested and very keen and very responsible to memorize every single word that Jibreel said to him. Because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as I said, he'd like to deliver the message in full. Now to deliver this message in full, he needs to memorize all the words. Because if he forget a word or ayah or part of the ayah, this means that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not delivering the message as he should do. So it is related from Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, from Ibn Murayda, from Abdullah ibn Abbas, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam repeated the words of the Quran for fear lest he should forget them. So when Jibreel was revealing to him, and Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was, as Jibreel saying it, he would say it in the same time. And he used to do this until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him in Surah Al-Qiyamah, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. Don't move your tongue with the Quran because you'd like to memorize it quickly, because Jam' al-Quran, the collection of the Quran, and Bayana, explaining the Quran, is our responsibility. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Qiyamah took the responsibility from collecting the Quran and keep it safe from Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam to whom? To Allah.
Us.
Brothers, I said to you all the time, yeah, I'd like you to be awake. And when I ask you, answer. This shows me that you are awake. So, I'll ask a question again. In Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam at the beginning, he used to say it when Jibreel revealing it to him. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him in Surah Al-Qiyamah, لا تحرك به لسانك, don't move your tongue with it, because he used to keep saying it, repeating. لتعجل به, so you'd like to memorize it fast. إن علينا جمعه قرآنه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, it is my responsibility to collect it and show it to the people. So you are only muballigh, you are just delivering. But the responsibility of Jam' al-Quran is to whom? Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who will organize all these matters. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, listen, you will memorize, and al-Jam', the collection, and Bayan Quran, it is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mujahid and Kalbi say that even before Jibreel finished recitation of the revelation, the Holy Prophet ﷺ would start repeating the initial verses lest he should forget them. So this is what he used to do. Now here in this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Muhammad ﷺ, there is, as I said, very good news. What's the good news? We shall make you recite and you will not forget. Now, as human beings, if you think about the things that you memorized in your life, when you were at school, 5, 6 years old, 12, then maybe college or university, and sit down now and try to remember the things that you learned at school. How many of these you can remember? Maybe 30, 50%, or maybe you forget that you've been at school. Because you find most of the children, they hate school, and they are looking for that day that they finish it. But the idea is that as human beings, we are forgetting. And in one way, forgetting is a bliss. Forgetting is a bliss in itself. Because if you don't forget, how you can forgive your friend? Or you forgive your wife? Or your child? And even to taste the things, if you don't forget, how you will enjoy the food again? Because if the taste still there, then you have the food again. They say, I still have it. So to forget in some regard is a bliss. And on other matters, no, you need to remember, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala equipped us with the brain which can take not millions, billions, trillions of information. And you know, when these laptops or computers started, so when you find the hard drive is say 100 megabytes of, mashallah, this is massive. Then we'll say 1 gigabyte, oof, what's this? And now 10, 50, now they are talking about 1,000, or there's more than the gigabyte, I don't know what they are saying.
Tetrabyte.
So, Tetrabyte. So they keep taking, but all these computers, doesn't matter how the hard drive is big now, when you compare it with the memory, it's nothing. Absolutely nothing. So doesn't matter how a human being managed to create all these computers with this massive hard drive, but the hard drive here is, subhanallah al-azim, there is no link, no comparison between the two. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam here, will make you recite and will not forget. So here, how many blessings had? The first one, the first blessing, sanuqri'uka, will make you recite. Number two, that you will not forget. This means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now guaranteed that every single word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam through Jibreel, what will happen to it? Recorded 100%, and no one can delete it. Yes? You cannot format it, you cannot delete it, no virus will affect it. It is there. سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله. It is, these days it is easy to understand this. So this is, as there is a chip in the brain of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is highly protected. No one can reach it. It is there, and the only administrator who can deal with these informations is Allah. Even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he cannot forget. So listen to this. Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, Muhammad, he is the prophet. The Quran revealed to him, if he himself, just for argument's sake, if he himself like to forget, he will not forget. Allah said that. سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله. This is why once the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as it is in Bukhari, that he was reading the salah and he stopped in the reading. And he asked Ubay ibn Ka'b, so when they finished the salah, he asked Ubay, have you been with us, behind me? He said, yes. He said, why you didn't open? Why you didn't? يعني they say الفتح على الإمام بالعربي, يعني that you reminded me of the ayah. And he said نسيتها, that ayah I have been forced to forget it. So who did that? Allah. So in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he has no say, no authority at all to move, to delete, to change at all. So every single word comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it stays there. And this is, brothers and sisters, is a bliss from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it make the Sahaba at that time, who's listening to the Quran, and the followers of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam after that, to be 100% sure that what they have, the Quran they have, is the Quran which revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So nothing being changed, and nothing has been deleted or forgot or something. And this is the difference between the Quran and the Torah, for example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا التَّوْرَاةَ فِيهَا هُدًى وَنُورٌ يَحْكُمُ بِهَا النَّبِيُّونَ الَّذِينَ هَادُوا بِمَا اسْتُحْفِظُوا مِنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He left the memorization and keeping safe for the Torah, He left it to the rabbis, the scholars of Bani Israel. But in Islam, for the Quran I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't leave this duty to human beings. Allah knows. Allah knows the hearts, Allah knows the minds. Because the people, if it's up to the people, then after that they can play with it. So they don't like this, they change it. You'll find in some countries, some parts of the Quran, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to talk about it. I remember one of the sheikhs said, you'll find in certain countries, some imams, they don't like to read Surah Al-Masad, Tabbat Yada Abi Lahab wa Tab. Why? Because it talks about Abu Lahab, and Abu Lahab Amr Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the uncle of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So they don't want to mention anything regarding this matter. They don't want to mention it. And in some countries, I remember, all the ayahs of the jihad, for example, in the Quran, they say, because in the past, when I was a student, because in the Arab countries, part of the curriculum, they teach you Islamic studies. So you'll find ayahs about the jihad, a hadith about the jihad, and these things. In certain countries, they said this move, no, we don't want to talk about. This is a matter that finished. We are in peace now, and so this matter we don't want to talk about. I'm saying these examples, brothers and sisters, to know that if the Quran left to the people, then they will change it. The politicians will do it like what they like. Like the Shia, despite that we believe 100% that they don't believe that the Quran we have is the full Quran. They are saying Mus'haf Fatima, and they are saying clearly that the Quran we have is maybe 10% of the Quran, and the other part is hidden. This is what they claim. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punish them. Despite this, when it comes to the tafseer, explanation, they say about certain ayahs, this is about Abu Bakr, this is about Umar. When it is cursing ayahs also, they say this is regarding Abu Bakr, regarding Umar. So the idea is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept the preserving the Quran to him. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. And when we are talking about this ayah, I think it is good to remind brothers about us. Now, all of us were reading Quran, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, and some of us memorize some of the Quran. Maybe some memorize more or half more, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. So I take this opportunity for two things. The first thing, to encourage all the brothers to memorize as much as you can. And don't be lazy in this matter, especially the young people. And make the make your plan simple and easy. Because sometimes the people, they say, okay, he's very enthusiastic and they say, okay, I'd like to memorize Juz Amma in a week. Then he starts, then he can't memorize the full surah in 3-4 days. They say, oh, this is too much. Then stop. Now, make the things very simple, very easy. Try with one line. One line. So the one line can be 1 ayah, 2 ayahs, 3 ayahs, depends on in which surah you are talking about. If you find yourself you can memorize 1 line a day, then move to 2 lines, 3 lines, and keep repeating this. In this way, if you start with 1 line, just 1 line, this means that you can memorize the page in 2 weeks. Just 1 line takes to you 2 weeks. And this is not, you've done a lot. If you memorize the whole page in 2 weeks, this means that in 1 month you memorize 2 pages. In 1 month. Then if you are doing only this, then you can memorize the whole of Juz Amma in 10 months. Because if you memorize in the same way, and this means that you can memorize the whole Juz Amma in 10 weeks, in 10 months. And this is for many people who doesn't have the time. Maybe the memory is not that much. I can say for many people, when you ask them, do you know Juz Amma? They say no. And I'm talking about experience. I met a group of students, they like to memorize Juz Amma, and when I checked them, 80% of them, they know only 3-4 surahs. And there is still mistakes in Surah Al-Fatiha. Mistakes in Surah Al-Fatiha. Now you, mashallah, I'd like all of you to start something. You who attended, mashallah, these lessons, I'd like you to start something. So check how many ayahs that you know, how many surahs you know, and say, by next Ramadan, inshallah, I must memorize Juz Amma. SubhanAllah, they said, 1 year for that? Yes. Now, because Shahr Shawwal finished, we are in the Qadr now, we're talking about 11 months. But be consistent in this. And every two brothers or 3 brothers can come together. So, for example, Brother Jum'ah can be with 2. Brother Sulaiman can be with 2. Brother Abdullah can be with 2. Brother Jabir can be with 2. So, you can organize this. But we have to start. We have to start something. That we'd like to make, this is our objective, that by next Ramadan, all these brothers, how many we have? 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, mashallah, 15 people. So we'd like to make our objective, by next Ramadan, all these 15 brothers memorize Juz Amma fully according to Tajweed and know the meanings. And you know when you do this, you done 1/30 of the Quran. Because the Quran 30 juz, you started the journey now. And when you memorize 1 juz, to memorize the second juz will be easier, until you find yourself, you'd like to memorize more and more and more. You don't want to stop. There's some experiences, they started when they are 60. I read a story about a lady. She was in the late 50s. And that lady, she used to have a group of girls, and she's teaching them sewing, in the sewing machines. And at that time, that lady, she doesn't know how to read or to write. But she loves the Quran. Maybe when she was little, memorized the Fatiha to teach. And she said to them, some of them who are, teach me the Quran, and I don't want the fees. And they started with her. So they come to learn and teach her. 1 ayah, 2 ayahs, 3 ayahs. I think in 5 years, she memorized the whole Quran. But what made her do this? What do you think?
Determination.
Determination. She's determined. She'd like to do this. This is what we are lack of. Yeah, we like this. We love to memorize the Quran. Of course. Every one of us love to memorize the Quran. But have we started? No. I'd like you to start from today, inshallah. So after Maghrib, you sit to make groups, 2, 3, 2, 3 here, 2, 3, sit here, there, and start. Correct al-Fatiha. Make the first thing, correcting al-Fatiha. Then, in Nas, al-Falaq, al-Ikhlas, you'll find maybe yourself the first 4 or 5 surahs easy, simple. Then carry on. But, when I come next week, I'd like to see, mashallah, there's improvement. And after 1 month, mashallah, we move. Then, inshallah, this is the minimum, huh? By Ramadan, we'll have, inshallah, that all this group memorize Juzu Amma, and we'll do a party and give you certificates, inshallah. But we have to start. Are you ready, inshallah?
Yeah, inshallah.
So, here, سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى. Now, when you start this, you are supported. You know you are supported by whom? Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Qamar said many times, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. The job that you are doing, the plan that you are doing in memorizing the Quran, supported by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So start, and Allah's help comes. Allah made this Quran easy to memorize, and you can see this. So when sometimes you see some of the competitions of the Quran in Saudi Arabia and Dubai and other countries, you find the winners, they don't know any Arabic word. They are from Africa or Asia or Uzbekistan, these countries. Why they managed to do this? Because the Quran in itself is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it to be memorized and to be acted upon. This is the whole idea. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this Quran in a way that it is simple to memorize. And I'm sure any one of you who had experience on teaching the Quran will find this. In our school, there is year two, which is 6-7 years old, they memorized half of Juz Amma. Year 2, 6-7 years old. And you'll find some boys, some girls, 10 years, 11 years, memorize the whole Quran. The idea is that start. And start and continue. Not, we'll start on Saturday, yes, alhamdulillah, we are full energy now, we start. Sunday, brother, are you coming? Oh, I'm busy now. Monday, no. Next Saturday. And next Saturday doesn't come. No. Arrange it. Say we'll meet twice a week, 3 times a week. Something you can do. Don't put something that you cannot do. Because when you put a plan for something you cannot do, you will not do it. If you can do 3 times, make it 2 times. Then if you do 3, you say, alhamdulillah, I done more. But if you plan 3 and you cannot make it 3, then you'll be depressed and say, oh, I cannot do it. Then you'll give up. No. Make the minimum. If you reach more, then it will be bliss from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some tips for the memorization. When you first make the goal of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rid Allah azza wa jalla. And ikhlas, be sincere. That you are not doing this for showing off. You are not doing this for any person. You are doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2, all the time make your niyyah. يعني renew your niyyah. That the intention is for Allah. Renew all the time. Number 3, use one mushaf. I mean by one edition, certain mushaf. So if you'd like to start, if it is all your own or mushaf in the masjid here, use the same thing, because the brain